Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Poetry Thursday. I have finally resumed Poetry Thursday, and a lot of you have been emailing me and been happy about that. I'm glad to hear it. Very glad to hear it. We will see how rocky a road we have ahead of us. I am working my way through one particular anthology, 20th Century American Poetry, and we are now up to the Harlem Renaissance. There's a whole section in this book that's just on the Harlem Renaissance. The editors here are not they're not working the Harlem Renaissance authors into the other authors of the same time period. They've given them their own concentrations. That's all we're going to be reading until we leave this phenomenon, which was big and broad and as ideological as it was geographical, as is evidenced by our poet today, who's Claude McKay, who didn't spend a whole lot of time in Harlem. Is still a foundational figure of the Harlem Renaissance, but a lot of his writing was done overseas. And I want to read you two poems of his. I want to read, there's one poem of his called If We Must Die, that it's the most anthologized of his poems. It was the most famous, I think, in his lifetime. I think it's a little bit hammy, but we will see. We'll see what you make of it. This is If We Must Die from 1919. If we must die, let it not be like hogs, hunted and penned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our accursed lot. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us though dead. O kinsmen, we must meet the common foe. Though far outnumbered, let us show us brave, and for their thousand blows deal one death blow. What though before us lie the open grave? Like men we'll face the murderous cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, dying, but fighting back. You can see that is a very formal rhyme scheme. There are end rhymes. They swap off, and then there's a rhyming couplet at the end. That kind of formal discipline was common in the Harlem Renaissance, and of course I like it. I just don't think it particularly works well in this poem. I want to read you one other. I could read this poet all day. I love Claude McKay, but I'll read you one other where I think it works a lot better. This is from 1921, just a couple of years later, and it also is formally structured. That's what you get from a lot of these writers, but I think it works a lot better here. This is called America. Although she feeds me bread of bitterness and sinks into my throat her tiger's tooth, stealing my breath of life, I will confess, I love this cultured hell that tests my youth. Her vigor flows like tides into my blood, giving me strength erect against her hate. Her bigness sweeps my being like a flood, yet as a rebel fronts a king in state, I stand within her walls with not a shred of terror, malice, nor word of jeer. Darkly I gaze into the days ahead, and see her might and granite wonders there, beneath the touch of time's unerring hand, like priceless treasures sinking in the sand. I love the sheer power of that kind of verse control. I love the sheer power, and I also love the sentiment that runs throughout Claude McKay and a lot of other Harlem Renaissance writers, where there is a tightly controlled anger against the rampant racism of the day. This was the era of lynching. McKay writes a great poem on lynchings. But also, this is the era of the New Negro. This is the era of Alan Locke and other thinkers saying, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to make this work. It can't just be that this is going to be violent oppression and opposition forever. I love the tense duality between that kind of feral hope and hopelessness. McKay is as clear-eyed as anybody about how much the machinery of America wants to kill him. I think it's fantastic. So our Poetry Thursday for today is dealing still with the Harlem Renaissance, and it is a high point. So we're just going to continue on. We are going to work our way through this volume if it kills me, but we'll be stuck still in the Harlem Renaissance next week. So I'll wrap this up for now. I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.